We have already discussed the definition, the characteristics, and the types of case study as a qualitative research design in this space. The current presentation is aimed at giving an example of case study research in social sciences. So the example that I'm giving is from the field of education. So first, let us have a look at the definition of case study as a qualitative research in social sciences. Generally, case study is one of the most frequently used research designs in qualitative research in comparison to the other types of qualitative research designs such as phenomenological studies or ethnographies or grounded theories, etc. The aim of case study is actually to explore phenomena in depth. And generally, the case could be a single case that we explore, or it could be a number of small number of cases within a real life context. The use of case study is generally to gain a comprehensive, in-depth understanding of a phenomena, a process, an issue, or an incident, etc., by examining these through the perspectives of the people who are involved in it. Generally, case studies often make use of a variety of data collection and analysis methods. And so these data collection methods, for example, involve interviews, observations, and document analysis. Now, here is an example of a case study. For example, if you are interested to explore the impact of leadership style on school performance, and so, for example, in this case, we take a case study of a high-performing public school in Mansehra. I'm giving you an example of Mansehra because I'm based in Mansehra at Hazara University. So let's say there is a high-performing school among the public sector schools, and we are interested in knowing the reasons, and one of the reasons that we identify is perhaps leadership style. And so we need to know the impact of leadership style on the performance of the school in this particular school. So here are some of the research questions. Generally, case studies revolve around exploratory type of research questions where we explore in depth our questions related to the phenomena that we are interested in. So, for example, the first question is, what leadership styles does the school's principal adopt and why? We are interested in that. Secondly, we are interested to know how does the principal's leadership style influence the school's academic or professional performance and the culture inside the school or around the school. Then we are also interested to know, for example, what practices and strategies contribute to the school's success despite resource constraints. So generally, for example, other schools in Mansehra, public sector schools, may have resource constraints, and this school too might have those issues. But despite that resource constraints and the particular environment in which the school is working, this school is still performing much better than others. So what are those practices and strategies on the part of the principal, for example, in terms of his or her leadership that is leading to the success? Then how do, for example, teachers and students perceive the principal's leadership and its impact on their motivation and their achievement that is different in comparison to other schools? So these are the main questions around which our research, this particular research, this case study will revolve. Now, research methodology. First of all, in the methodological section, we will include our discussion regarding the paradigm. So generally, case studies are qualitative studies, and so these come under the interpretivist paradigm of social reality or research. And so we need to begin with an understanding and a description of the interpretivist paradigm in this case. Then we will talk about our research design. So in this case, because it's one school that we are interested in, so we are having a single case study, but we could have multiple case studies, or we could have comparative case studies and so on. But in this case, our interest is in understanding the phenomena in this single case, which is this school. So the school is purposefully selected because it is a high-performing school based on consistent high performance in board exams, for example, and extracurricular activities. So we have, for example, taken these two indicators, persistent high performance in board exams of the students, and secondly, extracurricular or co-curricular activities in the schools. Secondly, we need to then identify participants or the data sources. So in this case, obviously, we need to talk to the school principal, so we need to understand his perspective related to his success or her success. Secondly, we might also be interested in knowing the perceptions of the teachers across various subjects. For example, from this school, we can take a sample of 20 teachers representing different subjects at the various levels. And then a group of, for example, 40 students. Generally, samples in qualitative studies are smaller, mainly because we are not interested in generalizations or quantitative generalization, but we are interested in the qualitative in-depth understanding. So in order to bring in variety and triangulation, we also include 40 students. And those students might include students who are performing highly and or whose performance is high, and students whose performance is average. Then we could also include among the participants from whom we collect data, we can include parents, selected parents, and school board members for additional perspective. So you see that we are including a variety of participants in order to have greater depth of understanding through triangulation. Now, the next thing is we need to also include the data collection processes. So generally, case study is a typical type of qualitative research, and so the main types of qualitative data collection tools include interviews, observations, and document analysis. So we might conduct interviews, in-depth interviews with the principal to understand his or her leadership styles and philosophy and practices and the reasons behind his or her success. Secondly, we might interview teachers and students to explore their experiences in terms of working with this particular principal or under his or her supervision. And we might also get insight into the school culture through the perspectives of the teachers and students. In order to triangulate, we could also use observation inside the schools. So we can go to the schools as researchers. We can observe school activities such as the morning assemblies, the staff meetings. So what do they discuss during those meetings? What happens in the assembly? What is the level of discipline and regularity and punctuality? We can also go into the classrooms and observe teaching styles, teachers' regularity, punctuality, their command on the subject, their student involvement, and all of these in terms of looking at these practices through the lens of the principal's leadership style, or what influence actually the principal's leadership style has on these practices. We could also include some document analysis in order to triangulate our data further and in order to authenticate the process of research. So for example, we could review school records over years. So what happened before the coming of this principal, what was the performance of the school, and in what ways and to what extent has that performance enhanced during the time of this particular principal. Then we could also compare exam results with previous results, and we could also analyze policy document analysis in order to have access to the performance matrices over a period of metrics over a period of time. So these are some of the ways in which we will collect data for this particular case study. Now, data collection is perhaps easier in qualitative research, but when it comes to data analysis, that's one of the most challenging things. So because we collect a variety of data, some through interviews, some through observations, through focus groups, and through document analysis. So we need to make use of generally a variety of qualitative data analysis methods, mainly because text is involved in qualitative data. So we analyze data using thematic analysis or content analysis to identify the main themes and patterns in the data. And so there is a systematic process. There are several models of qualitative data analysis, and we can take one of those models. I have discussed several of those qualitative data analysis models on this YouTube channel. And so, for example, there are lectures on thematic analysis and content analysis and discourse analysis, and so you can go and watch those. We could, during the analysis, we will need to compare data across different sources. So, for example, interviews, observations, and document analysis data will be compared in order to authenticate, in order to cross-check. We will also cross-check data across the various participants, such as the views of the teachers with the students and with the principals and maybe with the community members, and then the data that we get through observation and so on. So the next thing that we need to take care of in case study research is ethical considerations, and this is very important. Generally, ethics is an important part of research. So first of all, we need to obtain informed consent from all participants. So whoever our participants are, we need to take their consent of participation in our study. For example, informed consent from the principal, from the teachers, from the students, or the guardians of the students. Similarly, we need to make sure that the process of our research is based on confidentiality and anonymity. Many cases, the school might not be named, or the principals or the teachers or other participants might not want to be named in the reporting or the process of research. So we need to take care of that to ensure confidentiality and anonymity of the research process, the research outcomes, and reporting. We also need to, because schools are generally busy places, they have their set routines, and so they work in line with their timetables and schedules. So we need to make every possible effort to reduce disruptions or interference in the school's daily activities during our research activities. So this is extremely important, and it's an ethical consideration. And lastly, but most importantly, we need to make sure that our research is valid and authentic and it is reliable, so that the findings that we get to are basically based on the authentic process and outcomes of research. So this is a brief and interesting example from the field of education. Of course, case studies have different types, and case studies are conducted in various fields, including, for example, education, psychology, law, medicine, sociology, and several other fields. So there might be a variety of ways in which one can look at and can come up with other examples of case study in these various fields.